Long gone are the days when the mankind used to live in caves. Now, this is the 21st century where humans are controlling other human beings. It is in the tendency of the human brain to get scared. That's the reason why billions of people pay money to go to cinemas and get scared on their seats. Their brain knows that it is safe in the cinema, but it feels the excitement of panic while watching the characters on screen. The purpose of this documentary is to explore these elements which the media professionals manipulate in spreading mass panic and ultimately controlling the mind of their viewers. But what is panic? That is the first question that comes to mind. According to analysts, panic is essentially an extension of fear, but in an extreme form. Feeling totally overwhelmed by the physical and the mental feelings of it. It happens when faced with sudden life-threatening danger at this very moment now. The panic response, which is also known as the red alert, is vital in this situation because it gets the body instantly into the optimum state for survival, getting ready to fight or flee, or sometimes even freeze. This documentary is the case study of Nolan's highly acclaimed Batman: The Dark Knight. From the first shot of blue and black smoke to the long shot of the building, Christopher Nolan takes the viewers in a state of panic. The viewers are overwhelmed by the strong visuals that are being shown to them. May it be the breaking of the window by the robbers to reach the roof of the bank, or Heath Ledger holding the Joker mask with his back to the camera, or the fact that all robbers kill each other for one less share, ultimately leaving only the Joker, who escapes on a school bus before the police reaches the scene. The viewers' minds are instantly taken from the real world and put into the fictional world where danger is just around the corner.
We always wanted Batman Begins to end with a sense of excitement and possibilities for how the story would continue. Not because we knew we were going to make a sequel, but because that was the feeling we wanted the audience to leave the theatre with. Like, oh, I'd love to see more of that.
When we started to talk about doing The Dark Knight, and this is before we ever had a script, Chris very early on said, you know, I think I want to make it feel bigger and actually be bigger, but not just make it bigger and grander for the sake of making it bigger and grander. It had to come out of the story.
From the beginning till the end, each and every shot has been crafted carefully, keeping even the minutest elements perfectly aligned for sending the desired message across to the viewers. The main reason for the spot-on implementation of Nolan's script is his use of real locations and the props, which gave a very real, lifelike look to the Batman and all the characters.
Preparing Batman Begins, I had wanted to redesign the technology of the suit completely, but we really didn't have time to be able to completely rethink the way in which the suit will be made. So in coming into the sequel, I really wanted to get Lindy to follow through that idea of, you know, building it from the ground up in a completely different way. We're using completely different technology.
We just set about redesigning the suit as a much airier, much more modern, much more subtle piece of equipment, like a suit of armor, instead of a rubber suit.
A lot of their ideas are based on high-tech sportswear, sort of motorcycle protection being one of the key things. Chris wanted to bring in this flexibility, so we developed armoured plates that would allow a sort of crumple zone between those armoured plates and allow him more movement.
Bruce is a highly evolved guy. He's made himself so, and he's constantly looking for innovative things and learning from his experiences as the Batman. He's evolved and realized that he needs to make some modifications and continually upgrade the suit. It had tremendous bulk, and it allowed him to be able to withstand bullets and knives and sharp instruments, but it lacked flexibility.
We took the reasons we had redesigned it, the increased flexibility, the speed, the maneuverability, all these things, and we put those into the story. We wanted to give and I'd been looking for the story reasons for redesigning a suit. And then it occurred to me it was actually very simple. We just would have it be the real reason we did redesign it, which is he wants to be able to move faster and more flexibly. That's what we put into the story. I was fascinated by the challenge of trying to bring even more scope and even more excitement than we did in the first film.
It is said that for any good project, audio is as important as the visuals. The sound design of the film was designed in a way so that it doesn't give the viewer a happy feeling, but instead it gives hateful and unpleasant feeling.
The key new musical element for The Dark Knight was always going to have to be the sound of the Joker. Hans and I talked about it very early on, and I would send him stills and little shots of what Heath was doing to try and give him a feel of it.
I didn't want to write a summer blockbuster, happy, indulgent score. I wanted something that was truly provocative and people could truly hate. You know, I made the conscious decision to go out there onto the edge. You know, that was the first step I took, you know, and the great thing about working with Chris is when I go, maybe I'm going a little too far off the deep end, he'll push me a little further.
Unlike other Hollywood directors, Nolan didn't really just rely on special effects. Instead, he created the whole atmosphere which grasped the viewers into its grip. And to top it all off, Nolan shot the whole film on IMAX because he believed the script and the film was worth shooting on it.
On the top you can see 4 frames of 35mm, and of course it goes through the projector up and down. And that's actually a print down of IMAX photography, and IMAX goes through the projector horizontally, and that's 4 frames of IMAX. It's about 9 times bigger, so that's why you get incredible resolution in the IMAX format.
IMAX is an immersive medium, obviously. You fill that whole screen, and then you just get more impact to the audience. And not just visually, IMAX sound is amazing also. You feel the movie and you see it.
This has been used a lot on helicopters for Grand Canyon and all that sort of stuff before, so people weren't unfamiliar with it, but what we wanted to do with it and where Chris was taking us with IMAX was using IMAX as a dramatic tool as opposed to a documentary tool.
Chris's perspective has always been, you know, think of the IMAX films that you remember. They're the ones where the astronauts have had the camera in space. They've taken the cameras up Mount Everest. So if they can do that, then surely we can shoot on the streets of Chicago with an IMAX camera. And so the camera team and the grips and everybody had to really adjust the way they worked to work with these cameras.
We really wanted to maximise the use of the IMAX frame, and so this rig where the Joker's men are sliding down the cable from rooftop to rooftop was something I really wanted to get a very dramatic, vertiginous view. So we did this very elaborate helicopter shot coming up and over, just to really use the IMAX format for what it's best at, which is really giving people's stomach a bit of a lurch as they look down at an incredible drop. So we did a little rotation on the camera head as it went over, which was it was a complicated camera move to do.
When you see those guys going across the death slide, that's 2 stunt guys doing that for real from 2 real buildings in Chicago. There's a whole lot of prep goes into something which looks so simple. It is just 2 guys sliding down a wire, but you have to get permission from the building to rip all the walls out so that you can attach wires to girders. So even for something simple like that, the prep's phenomenal.
From the get-go, he went to the studio, we all went and said, look, this is something that we want to do, we really want to try it, we think it'll have great value because as big an event as it's going to be, it's going to make it even a bigger event, and it does. It's fun doing things like that. It makes the filmmaking experience very fresh all the time, and it's really great to be part of that.
I'm very pleased with the results of our IMAX photography. It's the world's highest resolution film format, and it creates an extraordinarily immersive image on the IMAX screen, which is a colossal, 8-story screen. It throws the audience right into the action in a way that no other film format could.
It is said that lighting, colors, shots, and music influence the human brain into bringing it into any desired state. Let's take a close look of some other shots that Nolan succeeded in spreading mass panic. From the first helicopter long shot of the camera moving closer to the building, Nolan brings the viewer in the world of Gotham City. When Bruce Wayne is stitching himself up and Alfred comes and sees his wounds, he tells Wayne to know his limits. And Wayne replies, "Batman has no limits." From his dialogue, Nolan establishes how much responsibility lies on the shoulders of Wayne. From his helicopter shots of buildings, he spreads panic by showing all this madness is happening in a congested city. When the Joker enters the mob meeting, the lighting on Joker with his OTS establishes the sinistry of the character. And the close-up shots of mobsters and the Joker increases the fear in the viewers' minds of the evil these characters are able to spread. The shot when Wayne is checking his new gear and blades are accidentally triggered depict the risks that Batman takes for Gotham. The scene where Gamble is brought the body of the Joker and the Joker turns the tables by putting the knife on Gamble's mouth. In this scene, Joker tells him the story of his brutal father and how he got his scars. During his dialogues, the director intensifies the scene by raising the music, and as the Joker kills Gamble, distorted face of the other hostage is shown. Nolan's use of real location grips the viewer's mind in panic as it realizes that all these things are happening in the real world. His implementation of the Joker killing video relates greatly with the style of real execution videos. Throughout the film, Nolan has played with the psyche of humans. May it be the predicament of blowing the other fatty or Harvey's sad accident, Nolan makes the viewers struggle to find sanity. And above all, Heath Ledger's modifications in his character when most people doubted him to be the suitable choice, and turning it into his most memorable performance left the audience in panic somewhere deep in their minds.
Heath was somebody I'd met with over the years for different roles. Indeed, I'd met him for Batman at the same time as I met, every actor in town. He explained why he didn't want to do something like that. He was very polite about it, but very clear. And so I was sort of surprised to get the call, because it really more came from his end about wanting to get involved, wanting to talk to me about what we would be doing. I sat down with him for a couple of hours. There was nothing for him to read, but we saw absolutely eye to eye on the bigger picture idea of who this guy was going to be. We talked about common reference points. We talked about Malcolm McDowell's performance of Clockwork Orange in the film. We talked about Clockwork Orange, the book, and who Alex is in the book is kind of different. We looked at paintings by Francis Bacon for visual reference. We looked at all kinds of things, talked about all kinds of different philosophical ideas behind the Joker and anarchy and chaos and what he would represent. And Heath was just ready to do it. He was ready to do something that big.
I'll settle for a loved one.
So after that first meeting, it was very clear to me that it was going to be an incredibly exciting road to go down.
You remind me of my father. I hated my father.
So we, went through the process of deal making and announcing and everything. And I think the whole world turned around and said, "What do you do?" Heath Ledger, Joker, it didn't make any sense to people at all. We didn't want to have that moment on Heath where we just sort of, made him dress up as the Joker and suddenly he's the Joker. That would have felt very artificial, and so he developed the look of the character with Lindy Hemming, the costume designer, with John Caglione, the makeup, and myself over a long period of time. So we would experiment with pieces of it. What would the shoes be? I think the shoes were actually the first thing that Lindy found that Heath was like, no, those are exactly the right shoes.
This wall is the sort of conglomeration of all the images that we started out with. I wrote there Terence Stamp, Bill Wyman, Iggy Pop, Adam Ant, Keith Richards. This is a sort of, like an amalgam of shirt fabric and ties. Everything with a little bit of edge and a bit of jagginess. And these are his colour, different colours, kind of safely going towards a really black purple, and then thinking, no, we've got to do it, come back here to the purple, And this is a panel of the final decide fabrics and colours.
One thing Heath wanted to do was to apply the makeup himself. As an actor, he's saying, okay, this character would put his own makeup on, you know, in real life. And so what would that look like if it just got the makeup? The thing that stuck from that is he always had makeup on his fingers and under his fingernails and everything, as he would have from putting it on just with his hands. During the hair and makeup tests, we let him perform. We let him talk, we let him walk around, we didn't record any sound, but we let him inhabit the character and use it as a bit of a test bed, to just sort of do it in front of a few people and start to feel what that would be and move around. And we had some props there, we had different knives and things for him to pick up and start moving with and seeing how that would work. And it was a really, amazing experience to be a part of, to see him developing something in that way.
I think if Tim Burton was suddenly making the next Batman movie and he rang me up and asked me to play the Joker and fill Jack Nicholson's shoes, I wouldn't have done it, because what's the point? He did it perfectly for what Tim was creating. But when Chris Nolan called me, I'd already seen the world he had created, and it was vastly different to Tim Burton's, and so therefore I knew that there was an opportunity for a fresh portrayal, you know, and it was very clear to me how he should be played. It didn't. I put a lot of work into it, but I knew where I wanted to end up.